These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Mountain Goat. It says, I will tell everyone who has been in the speculative investment for a long time, this couldn't be a worse time to sell your dinar. I compare it to a severe storm. You must have the guts to weather the storm. When the storm finally does really end, it's over and done, and then you move on to a better life knowing you weathered the storm and received the blessings that come afterwards. The rewards are great. Frank 26, Iraq boots on the ground report Firefly TV says Baghdad dollar will see a huge drop at the beginning of the week. However, the exchange rate is stable, question mark, and Frank says, we don't know what that means. Frank says, what is a Baghdad dollar? It's the United States dollar in Baghdad. That's the drop of the US dollar in the parallel market, which means they'll try to get to 1-to-1. I'm not telling next we're going to have our, I'm not saying that next we're going to have our blessing, he says, but he says, I'm saying that next week they're going to do what they are saying. Claire has an article quote, the Baghdad dollar faces a major withdrawal at the beginning of the week, but the exchange rate is stable. Militiaman has an article quote, government advisor, Iraq is on the cusp of a transitional stage in the development of promising economies globally. Militiaman says, is this the major announcement or a lead into one that Salih told us about? If it isn't an announcement, it is surely a good lead into one. Awesome news indeed. International ships arriving, partnering with the private sector, integration with the global economy, compliance with international standards. Surely we can all see the writing on the wall. Yep, powerful in my opinion. Mark Z via PDK, something interesting from a whale. A couple of currency whales have exchange appointments in March. Mark Z says it may be that they're setting appointments for after the event reset, but it is interesting, and these whales are not under NDAs yet. I've heard from 3 of those right now. Those whales have spent hundreds of thousands on currencies. One of them has spent millions. All right, Jeff has an article quote, Al-Sudani reveals the intention to end the political role of the United Nations mission in Iraq. Jeff says, do you notice how they're talking about removing the remaining U.S. coalition forces and the United Nations together at the same time? He says that's because Iraq's going international. The UN has Chapter 7 sanctions on Iraq, and the U.S. has OFAC sanctions on Iraq. Both parties need to remove their sanctions off of Iraq. They're discussing doing both steps simultaneously at the same time, not coincidence. It's because Iraq's preparing to revalue and go international. Pimpy community comment, once the 3 zeros are deleted, establishing IQD's rear, then the rate will go up in increments. Pimpy said that's not what you want. You do not want them to delete the zeros before the rate goes up. If they delete the zeros off your currency, then your 25,000 dinar becomes a 25 dinar, and then they raise that rate. That's not going to help you. We'll see what happens. All right, Sandy Ingram says the problem for people in the United States is no bank in the US will do any transaction using the Iraqi dinar. Until this changes, we have to find other ways to pull our profit out of Iraq. We can do this. I found one way and we'll discuss it in an upcoming post. Frank 26 question, will the IQD gradually increase? Frank says in the float, when it's in an international basket, yes, that's when you want to pay close attention. The problem is we don't know how much time we have to exchange the Iraqi dinar. You may not even be able to participate in it, but I think we will. Most revaluations and reinstatements of currency worldwide historically give you at least 6 months to a year. All right, Militiaman says a lot of people out there talking about this LOP business. The bottom line is a LOP doesn't do anything for Iraq. First off, I don't believe for a moment the IMF would allow them. Iraq's focusing on telling everybody their inflation has been contained for years. There's no hyperinflation, so a LOP completely out of the question. Mark Z via PDK has an article quote, Iraq confirms World Bank intention to promote fiscal policy reforms. And Mark Z said, here's the humdinger of the day. Another quote. Al-Sudani sets the date for opening of the port Al-Fa and decides the future of presence of the coalition forces in Iraq. Mark Z says the future is they will be gone. This is not just the US they want to leave, but the entire coalition. He said it began in 2014 and ended today. This is huge news. Decisions have been made and they no longer need them. They're moving towards independence. It is an all good news today. All right, Jeff says, I'm pretty much proud to tell you that you're witnessing Iraq setting the stage to revalue right now. It's happening. They are preparing to revalue. All the evidence is here. There is no questioning it's happening. Rayron 98 says, sorry, but today is not the day we are seeking, but it is steadily approaching. And lastly, we've got Mark Z via PDK comment. If Iraq has to have sustainable pricing starting March 1st and Ramadan starts on March 11th, I really feel we are in the window now, especially with Kuwait reevaluating during Ramadan. Mark Z says business is very much restricted or slows down during Ramadan, but it's still possible to have it happen then.